What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and here we are for episode 6 of the GTP Podcast GameTechTalks, and we're kind of winging it today a little bit. We're going to jump into some talk about Steam Deck. We're going to talk some goods and bads about cloud and just kind of see where the discussion goes from there. We're going to shy away from just trying to cover a bunch of news items this week, not because we didn't read them, but because we've both been super busy between work, things at home, and it's been tough. But we definitely didn't want to skip another podcast. So I reserved a Steam Deck, so we want to talk about that a little bit. And then, like I said, get into some cloud. So what's going on, man? How you been?
Not bad, man. It's been an interesting weekend. Got a fun week coming up ahead, but it has been busy, man. Like I've just had a lot going on. I haven't been able to play as much as I used to as in previous weeks, I'll say. But I've been hitting up Rogue Company a good bit still. I'm fairly addicted to that game right now. And the other night I was just looking for something different to play, so I installed and played some Forza Horizon 2.
Oh man, nice.
Yeah,
that's going back a little bit.
That game looks good still, man.
Yeah.
Like, I was impressed.
Forza games hold up, man. They look good.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things where I've had a good week. With the Rogue Company, I did a little mini tournament thing that me and this other dude we kicked some ass, man. We did not lose a round, man.
Won the tournament. Yeah, exactly. First win.
Yeah, so
that was cool. Now, is that just like a practice one-off thing? Is that something you guys are starting to gear up? Tournaments and stuff. Like, what's
so as I said last week, I joined the stream team, Nation of Misfits, but I'll throw them a little shout out there, But it's been really cool. It's all cool people, and they're try to do some community event type things. And one of the guys that I actually first started following, I got him into Rogue Company, and he just loves that game. He's making YouTube videos for it. He's taken and he's having a lot of fun with it, and he's trying to just grind on that game, grind his streams. He does like 4 or 5 streams a week, grinding that game, trying to get like some there's like a Rogue Company affiliate or partner status you can get for a content creator. So he's been doing a lot of that.
Strictly like he's going rogue, like he's strictly on rogue
going
right
rogue
now,
man.
So.
Going rogue.
That's pretty cool.
So he decided to do a community event to host the tournament, and it was a lot of fun. We didn't have the turnout, but it was still a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, no, that's the main key. As long as everybody's having a good time, the audiences grow over time. But even if they don't, it's that's the point. It's a lot of fun. Shoot, we don't get a huge audience here on GTP yet either, but I love everything I do.
Doing these.
I love the podcast, man. I notice I'm over 550 videos now on the channel. I've done every single one of those solo, except for the few you've helped me record and stuff. And that's a ton of hours. That's a lot of work to put in, and I'm just ready to do a lot more. Definitely want to amp it up once I get caught up on things here at home, but.
I'm going to be dipping my toe in soon, man. I'm going to be getting ready to try and record some Demon Souls footage, and I want to just throw together a little beginner Demon Souls tips, just something to make it a little easier for people coming in. I mean, it's just a little project I'm going to work on, so I'm looking forward to it.
You never know. Yeah, Dark Souls is one of your niches. That's something, you've always been heavily into. So I think those could be some really cool videos to start cranking out for sure.
Yeah,
now, if they do really well, we might have to host some of them over here on GTP. But
not only that, but Demon Souls I want to look into. I want to look into Little Monster Hunter Rise because I have a lot of fun playing that too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Monster Hunter Rise is another good one for that.
Oh, yeah.
I've been basically all Dirt 5'd out.
I've seen a lot of Dirt 5 coming from the Game Tech planet.
I just tweeted out a picture from the video, man. It's just been... I've been deep into Dirt 5. I mean, there's not much... Luna, xCloud, Stadia, 4K, 1080, 1440p on Stadia. I've just been playing as many matches as I can, getting a real feel for it. And now I'm just putting together, all the footage for it. I probably played so many hours, and the video will wind up being like 10 minutes long. You know what I mean? By the time it all gets cut down.
I'll be honest, man.
But
Like, I tried Dirt 5, and it looked great. It played good. I enjoyed playing it, but I think Forza Horizon has ruined me, man. Because that's just like that's been something I've wanted in a race car game for so long, and when I finally got turned on to it, which really wasn't until Forza Horizon 3, I believe,
yeah.
when I that just opened up a whole new world for me in racing games. Like, that's right down my alley.
It really did the same thing for me too when we got into 3. That I hadn't even played the first 2. 3 really got me into it. It scratched the itch that really no other racer was doing at the time, with the open world, and not only that, but those games are just gorgeous and they always run really well. So for me as well, and Forza Horizon 5 is definitely one of my top like 2021 games that I can't wait to try out. That's definitely. But yeah, Dirt 5 is a great arcade racer. It's not a Forza competitor, as I would say, but to see it, the thing is, it landed on Luna finally, and that's in the Luna Plus channel, which is a great deal to have that game jump in there. And I was like, I've got to do xCloud, Luna, and Stadia, and I've got to include Stadia's 4K because I want this video to go all out. I wanted to show everything. I wanted to show how each one's run. I really wanted to give a lot of information, so that's what I'm into with that. So that's really the only game I've had time to play, other than trying to catch up on Marvel Avengers a little bit, because with the Black Panther content and other stuff coming out, the game is going to get better, and it's already better. With me jumping back in, I'm like, man, this game's so much better than it was when it launched. So I'm trying to catch up. I'm at like 78% of the campaign or something like that. I'm just trying to finish the main normal, assemble your heroes or whatever, and then move on to the next thing.
Just do yourself a favor, man. Don't skip them cutscenes, because the story in that, like, the campaign was amazing.
Yeah, I really like it, man. I really do. It just, some things fell flat at launch and other games came out, but like now that I'm back into it, totally really loving the game again, definitely. All right, so I started
get back into though.
Oh, yeah, you did. Yeah, I think we did. We were talking about making a crossover, like a video where we were both online playing matchmaking while on GeForce Now, and showing how that can work. So we might mess with that when it comes to Avengers, because we both have that available to us.
Nice.
So Steam Deck. This is something I want to talk about. Like, it's funny because this product, like, I had no interest, and I was like sitting there talking about it being a chunky Game Gear and all this other stuff for like an hour. And then, like, I don't know, the hype just started building in my blood, and all of a sudden I couldn't get on the website, which meant I wanted it more, because I couldn't just reserve it. I had to start refreshing. I had to start playing games with the browser. I'm like, and then before you knew it, I was in this roller coaster ride of, I have to reserve a Steam Deck right now, until I finally did. It took me about 42 minutes on my phone and on my tablet while at work, but I did reserve one, supposedly Q1 of 2022. So I went from not caring about it, and within like a couple of hours, they completely hooked me. But everyone was talking about it, even everyone in all the chats I was in and on Twitter. And even though there's some naysaying and there's some negative things, and there's always going to be negative things with any product, which we'll talk about, but I don't know, the hype just kept building for what the capabilities were. And then I heard, like, you could put full Windows on it. And then my brain is like, I could test this thing with like every PC testing software, like, thing that I have, and make videos like a real, like, nerd would do. Like, I could really do a lot with this thing and make a ton of content. So before you knew it, I had to jump in. I had to grab it. So I sent you some links because you were like, what is a Stream Deck? And I'm like, it's a Steam Deck. And like, because when you search for it, Stream Decks come up. But you started looking into it and you're like, yo, I kind of want one of these. So like, how quickly did the website convince you, which I'm going to pull up, that, you might be interested in this thing?
So I'll go a little bit before seeing the website here, like, because I seen it announced. And right. I was on the website and I could have pre-ordered it, but like I just clicked on the website just to click on it. And like, without really looking into it, I'm just like, I got to switch. I have a PC. I'm good. What? No.
Right.
First initial thoughts is like, it looks cool, but like, I don't need it. Right. so then, coming up into the podcast, looking into it, taking and looking at that website, and I didn't even watch the video. I read everything. Like I kind of dove in on my own tangent there, and when I saw that you could dock it and play it like on your monitors, on your TVs,
Right.
I immediately became intrigued by it because that's I don't do handheld that much. So
Right.
getting it
Right.
for a handheld for me wouldn't be like a lot of time into it. But
Now, when you say that though, like, do you think maybe you're not as much handheld because maybe we only play so much Switch hours in comparison to what me and you would put into a PC or a console? Do you think something like this might actually make you more apt to be like, man, I can literally play like almost any of my PC games here, or go on web browsers? Pretty much you're carrying a PC in your hands with controllers on it that you might grab it up and take it with you more, run to the couch or the bed or whatever the case is. Do you think you might do that more with something like this over a Switch just because of your habits?
it would be hard to
Or is
say.
handheld for you just you're really not? Because you played a ton of 3DS, and when I say a ton of 3DS, we're talking
Yeah.
hours upon hours upon
Yeah.
hours. So that's why I was
But
curious.
guess what? I couldn't really. You could, with the right hardware, but at the time I couldn't really put my 3DS on my TV. So
True.
like, God, I had the option.
So things were different for you at that point. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But when I seen that you could take and do the TV, the monitor, like I was a little more into it at that point, and it looked like something that eventually I might look into. Still
Yeah, the
not like a day
dockability.
one for me, but something that I wouldn't just write off right away like I did the first time.
Right, right. Something that really intrigued me, I knew it would have like motion and stuff, but like the track pads that they have on there, and
That looked really cool.
that's really cool. And a lot of people are talking about it for gaming, which is great, but it's also just really cool for navigating your OS, or say you switch to Windows or whatever the case may be with this thing, because you could install full Windows 10, Windows 11 on here, I would assume. Those would be like your mouse, your cursor. Like there's a lot of things that like having those two touchpads opens up between gaming and just making your way around the OS. That's really, really cool, and it just seems well thought out.
Yeah, no, the customization on that thing is going to be insane. You're going to see so many variations of what that thing can do when it comes out. It's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
The possibilities are going to be endless with that thing. You're going to see so many cool things that thing can do. It's, wow. It just blows
The
my
fact,
mind.
the fact that it's not locked down and that they're like, install whatever you want on it, or install Windows, do whatever you want with the device. People are going to do things with this that I'm not even able to think of right now. I mean, things I can do with it easily is, RetroArch emulator. I can have thousands of old school games with me.
It's one of the first
you
things
know.
I thought of when I seen it, honestly.
Oh,
was
I'm
that
like,
emulator.
that's, I could have like thousands of Nintendo games at the palm of my hands with this, as well as with my Switch and all kinds of other games too. I've spent a lot of time getting all that working, and I think it would be really easy to do here. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of cool videos to make. There's going to be a lot of neat things other creators make that I want to see with this. And I think also, even more importantly, is there have been a few handheld PCs come out that are like really expensive. They don't quite have the performance. The reviews are hit or miss, and it's kind of not really taken off yet. But this feels like that like device that would be coming out that finally hits a market at like a price starting at $399 that more people can buy, or like people will feel like this is the first real handheld PC to come out that's affordable and gets people used to it, because I think everyone from HP to Dell to Acer, Asus, I think handheld gaming PCs are coming. Like I think it's a market that's gonna explode over the next year or two. I think there's a huge market out there for good handheld PCs.
Yeah, obviously, like these these big tech companies that are making PCs currently, they're going to see this and we can do that. Why aren't we? So
Yeah, and I've
you're
seen
going to see a boom
prototypes like
of them if this succeeds.
no, absolutely, man. And I think a lot of companies are probably going to watch how this does. I mean, you could kind of take just from the website crashing out and the amount of orders and so many things. They're already pushed to Q2, Q3 on these reserves that it's going to be popular. People are already lining up to buy it. I think the price is right. They thought of a lot of things with this, and it is a Generation 1 device, which always has something that you want changed, and they've said they will have upgraded models in the future too. But I think this is going to introduce a lot of people to this market. I think the market's huge. I think those who get handheld PCs out there that are affordable and that work really well are going to do well. And I think you're going to see Alienware ones, and I think you're going to see the HP gaming ones. Lenovo, I know, is working on some prototype handheld PCs that can do stuff like this, and most of them are working with AMD because they are one of the reasons why this is possible with like the RDNA 2 architecture and the new GPUs and stuff like that. There's even ray tracing capabilities with that. So it's just pretty insane looking at the computer power that we're able to now stuff into something a little bit bigger than a Switch. That's pretty insane. And that Jedi Fallen Order and control stuff, from what I understand, is like high settings. That's pretty good.
I think with this thing, like, you're going to see it work well using Steam's operating system on it once they get the dents hammered out there.
Right.
I think you're going to see some complaints when it comes to the customization, just simply because you're going to take up a good bit of memory. I'm assuming you're going to take up more memory using different operating systems than the one that Steam is going to provide you.
I'm guessing that to be the case. I just don't know until we get, hands-on with it, because Windows isn't a killer when you install it. You don't lose a ton, and that's been gotten better too. So I'm not sure, but anytime you have an OS specifically made for the device, it often is smaller. But for anyone that gets, like, if you're getting a 64 gig model, you're buying an SD card to install games on no matter what, because that 64 is probably before the OS goes on. So that $399 model, you got to be ready for game storage on that one. The 256, you're going to get that with still a little over 200 gigs of space on there after operating system and everything else they put on. So that should be fine either way. And if you wipe that and put Windows, you'll still start with over 200 gigs. So
I seen the 64 gig model, and that made my head tilt. I was like, why? What?
One of my complaints about this was that I felt like the pricing and storage was a lot like something Apple would do, where nothing else changes, but they like give you more storage and the price gets absorbently more.
I mean, yeah, they have the storage chips. I get that. But I just have a feeling that your internal storage is probably going to run a little better.
It always does. It almost always does, except the other thing about that, I don't know if I can bring this up here. The other thing about that, let's see, what are we at here? Q2, Q3 on those reserves, is it's the eMMC versus the NVMe SSDs. So not only is it much smaller, it's much slower as well. And unless you have no choice, like this model, it's cool. There's still going to be a lot of, you're still going to be able to do everything with it.
That's going to be for those who want to use it more as a handheld PC.
Yeah, or a cloud streamer.
A cloud, or possibly anybody who's looking to put the emulators on, like
right.
Small that to me would be something that I would grab that version for. But with the capabilities of it, I would want to try some things out that you could literally not try out on that 64 gig. Like, even if you got the full 64 gigs without the operating system, you can't install Destiny 2.
True. No, there's a lot you can't do with that off the bat. I think the 529 256 gig model is the sweet spot right in the middle. You don't get the anti-glare etched glass, but I often, with these kinds of things, put a really nice tempered glass anti-glare protector on it myself anyway, so that was a non-issue for me. And I think just between the storage and whatnot here, it's just more, this is kind of the sweet spot. This is the one that I have reserved, the 256. For $529, and I think that's a pretty good deal, and I think a lot of competitors are going to have trouble matching performance to the price. Like, I think Steam's probably doing a pretty good job here.
I think for a Gen 1, something that you don't really know, you don't really have anything comparable
Right.
from them previously. So this is something brand new, Gen 1. I think that's a safe bet. Like, why go all out with the 512? Pardon me, until you know what this is going to do. And possibly with some fixes in later generations, then maybe upgrade that
Right.
to that storage level, which would probably even be greater than that by then.
Oh yeah, well, you would hope that we could do better. 128, 512, and 1 gig. If I were to guess on Gen 2, but that won't even be for a while. Steam has said now that they expect to have trouble meeting demand for 2 years. One year to 2 years on this device. So, there's nothing upgraded coming too soon, most likely. But, demand is definitely going to outweigh the supply that they have for this.
Wonder if that upgraded OLED switch dampered their restock there.
I think Switch is, there's going to be a huge demand, but I think they might have an easier time keeping up because they're not changing hardware and it is the older chipset still. So I don't think they'll be as hard to get, which could be helpful. Something that we definitely want to not leave out of the discussion with Steam Deck before we move on to some cloud discussion is the just getting started with the SteamOS 3 that they've got out, and this being a new situation, there's going to be games that you can't play, and this happens on virtual PCs and cloud PCs as well because of a lot of the same reason. The anti-cheats just don't hook in properly, or they can't work with the OS, or whatever the case is, and the game can't run.
I had a tough time on getting that Warframe footage for you today just because there was some extra login stuff I needed to do to get on Warframe, and it wanted me to do the robot click the pictures thing, and doing that through GFN, I will tell you, is not fun.
No, I know that stuff can be a real pain.
Come completely out of it and just...
Big announcements, by the way, too, for Warframe today. We're not going to have time to get into that. I just found out about that like an hour ago, but there's some stuff, like all 16 DLCs or expansions free now. Getting ready for the big expansion, cross-play and cross-save is coming. Warframe is, for a game, the support for that game is out of this world. And the fact that they're just
alone. Cross-save alone is
I'll
big
tell you,
for me.
Super exciting, man. So I'll actually be jumping back into Warframe really soon because with those features coming, with all that free content, and I heard that a lot of people are calling the next DLC it feels like the Taken King. Or looks like the take. I was like, yeah, okay. I really got to start getting back into Warframe. The support for that game is phenomenal. So, great announcements today on that. If anybody's a big Warframe fan, you want to go, just Google Warframe. All right. So the bad things here. Let me take a look. So let's see this paragraph right here. Valve did mention that it's currently improving Proton's game compatibility and support for anti-cheat solutions by working directly with the vendors, meaning trying to get them to allow it. The anti-cheat to work on their OS, although the more drastic solution would be to tinker with the device, delete SteamOS, and do a fresh install of Windows, something which Steam Deck is completely capable of, and Valve says is entirely up to the user. It's not something frowned upon. It doesn't cause any issues. Until they fix things with the SteamOS to allow the anti-cheat stuff, there could be games like Destiny 2, Apex Legends, PUBG, Rainbow Six Siege, and probably other ones, like Valorant and more, that are not going to work on there due to the anti-cheat. And that could actually change by December when it starts to launch. It might not. It depends on how quick Steam can work with developers for this. And then, of course, you always have the workaround to just install Windows instead of the SteamOS if you have to be able to play those games on that device. I saw this coming, but I don't know, man. What do you think?
I think they're going to have the kinks worked out by the time it's in people's hands.
You think that Steam will be able to get these developers to work with them to get the anti-cheats to allow their SteamOS?
I don't see why not. I really don't. Steam's usually a fairly well liked platform there,
and they have the money.
As far as the reputation and whatnot. So I mean, I don't see why the game devs wouldn't work with them a little bit.
No,
But
I think you could be right. I don't know what the time frame is going to be. I would like to see it by launch, so that people that are hard set on playing games that have the anti cheats can do it without installing Windows if they don't want to. But you could be right. They might, with the force behind Steam, the money they have, their partnerships already and relationships with developers, that I could see them pulling it off at least for some of the more popular games by launch. Maybe even if they don't pull it off for all of them.
yeah, no, and if it's not fixed by then completely on each game, there's going to be a plan and most likely a time frame window of when that people can expect the fix to happen. I would
Right.
imagine that would be a worst case scenario is a time frame window.
Yeah, and I would also assume that with it being a Gen 1 product, they weren't going to spend the kind of money until they saw what pre-orders and reserves were like, and how the first lot sells and that type of thing before they say, okay, invest. So they'll know a lot just from this reservation process that, it's worth moving forward. Because like I said, I think the handheld PC space is poised to explode, get really popular, and they could be right there at the forefront. I really think this is the first handheld PC device to be announced for the market, to be reservable, to get one that actually is affordable and seems like something for the mass market, not just like the few.
I really hope it succeeds because a handheld PC is a really cool idea, and I want to see this evolve because I don't know. I don't do a whole lot of handheld myself anymore, but this could be, you could see this evolve into, say you're like me where you only have the one PC setup and you could get one of those and basically use it as a PC to port in, to capture card in for your content.
Yeah.
When I go live, I can't run my Streamlabs and my game at the same time
Right.
on the PC because I start skipping frames on the stream. The game runs fine for me, but it doesn't run fine for the actual stream. So something like that, that's it. There's a few different ways you can look at that, and I kind of like the way of using it docked as using it for content to
Right.
capture card in and go live with.
Yeah, I like that, and I like the abilities of the um, just the possibilities it opens up, that you could just dock that thing in at your little station there, even if you didn't have two PCs, even if you just had that and you carried that around with you to do stuff. Maybe you have an extra dock somewhere if you're working somewhere. You get home, you dock it right there. You got your monitor, your keyboard, your mouse all set up, and it may not be the most powerful gaming PC, but it's capable enough that there's not going to be anything you can't play, that you can't jump in and do. And I think it just has a ton of potential. So I mean, I'm really looking forward to this Steam Deck. I kind of hope it's sooner than Q1 for me. Hopefully, maybe they make more of them faster, but it's definitely not just the Steam Deck, but the handheld PC space in general. I can't wait to see. I think that's like a whole new thing that's coming. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be super interesting. Definitely keeping my eye on how that does. I'll be coming over to try that out when you get it.
Try, yeah, man. You'll be checking it out here first, and who knows? It might even convince you. It might be the second PC that you need. It might not. All right, so why do I have Stadia up? Well, we're going to pull up a couple different things just for the fun of it, because that's what we like to do. And switching over, so why I think it's interesting to talk about cloud in the same discussion as Steam Deck is because I saw a ton of like Twitter cloud content creators and stuff like just blowing up about Steam Deck. Some of them were positive, but there's like a lot of negativity from the cloud community already about Steam Deck and how trash it is and this and that. And I'm just like, where did this come from? This thing's not even targeting cloud. This is a PC. This is targeting PC gamers, people who need a PC in general or a second one. It will be capable of streaming cloud. We're all going to test that. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a huge extra little piece of the pie, like if you can stream cloud really well on that device. But it's not marketed that way. It's not a cloud device. So I can't believe the amount of attention the Steam Deck got from the cloud gaming community.
And you know what?
when it was launched.
Anytime we start getting into what I see on any type of social media, whether it be Twitter, I don't go on Reddit that much because that's just a freaking wormhole right there. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I try not to get too deep in there.
But a lot of that, what you see is, I can't imagine that's a majority of the actual people that's gaming and using the services, because when do they have time to game? They're always on Reddit and Twitter, like, for one.
Right.
But I think when you see one of the things I've always said, and this relates to just the IRL job, is bad news always spreads quicker than good news, and if anybody has anything to say about something, you're going to see that way more than you'll see somebody who has something good to say. So I think even though you might be seeing a lot, I don't think it's a majority necessarily.
No, absolutely. No, I don't think so at all. I think it's funny because, first of all, you always hear the minority as the loudest. You're always going to hear, and like you said, negativity gets clicks and views, and everybody jumps on it. So I get it. And some people don't even mean it. They just say
and
this stuff,
I
right?
only bring that up because you can start to easily profile an entire community based off of the loudest group, which is actually the smallest group in the community. So, anytime somebody says something about a certain community, it's always nice to just iterate real quick that, yeah, we're seeing a lot of this, but just don't base your judgment on that community based off of what you're seeing there. That's probably a minority.
Right. And so I was just like, well, if everybody wants to jump on, and Steam Deck and cloud are going to kind of be synonymous, then, we'll talk a little bit about cloud with all this. And like I said, I've been so deep into Dirt 5 and other games as well in cloud. I've actually, the past 2 weeks, probably 80% of my gaming has been cloud and the other 20% local, which is odd for me, but it's mostly just because that's the content I'm working on. But I'm also finding that, with games like Avengers and stuff, I like that I can lean on cloud a little bit because I get to play a lot more. If I'm chilling at the TV, chilling on the couch or doing other things, I can fit in some more stuff. So I want to say, all cloud to me is leaps and bounds better than where it was even 6 months ago, 3 months ago. The amount of improved quality across Luna, PS Now, Xbox Cloud Gaming, GeForce Now, and when we're always comparing those, of course, to Stadia's tech and their streaming abilities. And I've got to say, I know the narrative is but Stadia has the tech. There's these companies are really catching up. My experience with Luna lately, with latency and picture quality, has been really good. Some of the games on xCloud are really good. Some are still very hit and miss. But I woke up this morning. Dark Alliance has been running on the new blades for a while, but it's been pixelated as hell when I play. I woke up this morning and booted up Dark Alliance to almost no pixelation. And I was like, okay, there's another improvement overnight. And these things just keep happening. So the tech just keeps on catching. But the point of that being, that's what we want. All the cloud is getting really good. More people are being able to jump in and experience it and try all the different services out. And they all have something different to offer. So we're going to talk a little bit about hurdles local gamers have with cloud gaming here in a few minutes, but I wanted to highlight some of the positive things about cloud that, I enjoy myself, and I know there's some things that Joe uses it for now. We did that video recently where he jumped into more cloud, but I'm pretty sure he's still only going to be playing GeForce Now when it comes to cloud for a while, and xCloud when it gets better. But I want you to tell me, just from your experience over the past few months experimenting with cloud and the video I had you do, and you recorded Warframe today, you've been getting into it. What are the most positive things for you when it comes to all these platforms and how they let people game?
Oh, personally, I love that you don't need to install a game. And that's something that I don't think is really shouted loud enough from the advertisement of cloud.
True.
You don't have to take up hard drive space. You don't have to plan an install. I had a stream about a month ago where I streamed Control, and I had no idea I was going to stream Control. I had it installed on nothing, and I loaded up GFN and threw it on stream. So that's one of the biggest things for me is just the instant access, so to speak, you get to these
Right.
games without having to plan ahead. Because when you
That's
install a
really cool.
game, you're planning ahead. That's
Right.
ultimately what that is. So, uh, other than that, I mean, I like some of the convenience of it. My experience with Xbox game streaming, uh, I've been using it to snag some of the rewards quests without installing
Oh
the
yeah, you
game.
mentioned that last week that like it's been handy to jump in real quick and like get some of your quests
For
done.
example, the weekly quest this week is build 5 objects in Conan Exiles. That's a 90 gigabyte game, I believe.
Oh
It's
yeah.
up there. It's like 86 point something, I think. But on my Series S, I don't have the storage like I used to, and that's a lot for me to try and make room for. So I don't have it yet, but I'll be using the game streaming for that.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. I think that is probably one of the top reasons the cloud can really come ahead in a lot of areas, and that's just the convenience, the no download, to jump right into a game, saving hard drive space, and like I had mentioned, getting back into Marvel's Avengers. I've not downloaded that anywhere. I've strictly been playing that on GeForce Now, on my phone, the iPad, both my PCs. Like it's 75 gigs to download it. The performance on GeForce Now is outstanding for that game. It's super clean stream. No stuttering issues, just works really well. I'd like them to give me a 1440p and 4K option eventually, and that will come. But it looks so good, it runs so good. So that's been so huge. So I really agree. That's just one of the biggest things. And then like you said, streaming. Not only could you just make a last minute decision and start streaming a different game on cloud, you didn't have to worry about if your PC setup or the way you had Streamlabs working was going to cause issues because of your computer trying to run the game.
And
And
even to elaborate on that little point real quick, if you hop on, say you get home from work, you want to throw on a stream, but your game didn't update.
oh yeah, man, absolutely. I didn't think of that because I don't really like stream games. So you're ready to go live, and you go, wait a minute. Whether it be your PC or your console, even with auto updates on, you could definitely. I don't know how
Right.
many times I've sat down to
You're
play, and I'm
switching
like,
to the just chatting screen, and
shoot,
you're on
yeah,
center
yeah.
stage until that thing updates.
Like, don't worry, guys. It's just updating right now. You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's really true, man. I hadn't really thought of that. So, I mean, cloud just has a lot of benefits, and I don't care if it's Luna or Stadia or xCloud, or I don't care if you're purchasing your games or getting them through subscription model. There's a lot of debate to be had over what each platform offers. To me, the most important thing is that they all completely offer something different. I'm not looking at like 5 cloud services that are all an identical business model, because to me that would just be boring. It wouldn't offer enough choice and variety to the consumer out there to grow player base. So I hear a lot of complaints that people want cloud to all like be the same, and I'm just not for that. I don't get that.
And it can't be the same because then it just dies.
That's that's what that's what I've been trying to say, man. It will die. If they were all identical experiences, they would die. It wouldn't work. So I love all the different options that we have with all these different clouds. GeForce Now continues to be super supportive to PC gamers. Stadia is where you want to go if you want a more console experience, less tweaking with things, just jump in and play the console. Xbox Cloud Gaming, of course, is just like that. Just jump in, super easy. Everybody has different content libraries, though, and that's kind of why I'm just bringing up different things, too, while we talk. Like, everybody just has different games available, so you really got to go look around. But there's still something for everybody everywhere. I think cloud is still a support system more than a replacement right now, especially due to content library and performance and player bases and things. But we'll talk about that more in a minute. But ultimately, though, cloud has just come a long way. I'm so surprised at the amount of games I can play and enjoy and not get frustrated with on just all the cloud, just all the different services. It's really been amazing the past month or two, the improvements I'm seeing.
Yeah, when I was just, I'll bring Warframe up again today because I was just playing earlier today Warframe on GFN, and It's a solid experience there, and it's a free to play game. You don't need to
Yeah,
spend money on it, and it looks amazing. Of course,
and
I
that's
mean,
even better.
I've put a little money into it, but like it's optional. You don't have to.
Yeah. And with today's
That's
announcements, it's even better, man. Like Warframe's even
absolutely.
better on GFN now, so there's even more free content to jump into right through GFN.
And there's such a the thing is like it's funny because if you go play Warframe, if you've not played Warframe and you go to play it and you're moving along, you're trying to figure things out, you don't really feel like there's a player base in it. And that's because most of those guys are already at endgame. Like most of that
Yeah.
player base is way beyond where you're at.
Yep.
And I was playing again. I was playing today, and I did not get matched with anybody. But I'm entry level in that game, so
Yeah. And that happens with a lot of games that have been out for a long time. There's always going to be some new players coming in, but not near enough to match make like the beginning content. You always wind up having to grind your way, and then you'll notice the farther in you get, the more
you'll
people
see
you
more.
start running it.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's just kind of how. So you got to be willing to do that. But
But
honestly,
my
it's not even that
goodness,
hard.
it looked amazing.
It's fun.
Like I had no issues with it whatsoever. The look, the graphics were all great. I had to, actually I was surprised because the rig it put me on I believe was a 1080.
Okay, it could be.
I
for
think it was a
Warframe.
1080 there for Warframe, but like I had to double look. Like really, this is a 1080. This looks great. Like
Yeah. No, they've really done a lot. Not only are the rigs running well, they've really cleaned up the stream, the latency, some of the load times. Nothing's perfect in the cloud, but GFN's made a lot of headway. Stadia's been doing great things. They've announced some good things with their toolkits. Xbox Cloud Gaming's improving by the day, and Luna, especially with Dirt 5, has just really been blowing me away about with how good their performance has been. It's been great. And then like you said, the ease, like when I text you about recording some GFN and like jump into Warframe, it was like, okay, I don't have to worry about space or downloading or this or that. Jump in and record some Warframe. So that's pretty cool. You're gonna do another one, right? What's the other one we got coming?
Dauntless is coming up, and
Dauntless, so-
I did actually install that on my PlayStation, play that a little bit to get ready for it. And some sort of new update hit today, so that's going to be fun. I might try and get into that, but I also might get my
Yeah.
butt kicked.
I saw Dauntless has come a long way since its launch. It's a totally different game. It's really good though.
It's Monster Hunter Light. Like it's
Light, yeah.
a free to play Monster Hunter. It's really cool. If you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. Especially if you're a Monster Hunter fan, like
Yeah.
that's a really cool game to play. It could definitely take up some time, be a little bit of a break from Monster Hunter because it's not exactly like it. So it's Monster Hunter Light. Imagine the easier version of it, free to
Light.
play.
So before we move on to some of the so-called hurdles of cloud, I'll mention one more positive that neither one of us has really said, and that's just the sheer amount of devices that you could play cloud on. That not every cloud is available on every device, but for the most part, like iPhone and Android and most of the tablets and Android TVs and stuff, you can play, Luna and xCloud, Stadia, GFN. PS Now is the only one that's really locked to PC hard. Like, it's really hard to get it to do anything anywhere else. But for the most part, like, you can just play those services on so many devices really, really easily. And I think that's just another really good positive, that you don't have to have a huge TV hooked up or even a gaming monitor or anything. It could just be your phone or your old laptop that's hanging around that you thought couldn't do anything anymore, and now all of a sudden, you could play Warframe on a 1080 or, jump into Stadia and be playing Valhalla or something, and Xbox Cloud Gaming on Gears 5. Like, your old laptop would all of a sudden be able to play all these great games in the cloud or whatever device. So I think that's another big positive to get more people into gaming. That's the biggest point.
And I mean, imagine there's a lot of people that have devices that can run things that just don't know they can.
Right.
Imagine just finding out one day that something you already got can do, play Resident Evil 8. Like...
No, it's so true. And I think what's interesting as well is, like, a lot of people just still don't even know what cloud gaming is. I mean, those who do this kind of content and follow gaming super close, and especially with Xbox coming out with cloud gaming, more people's eyes kind of, they see it. But a lot of people just still kind of don't know anything about cloud, and they'll still ask a lot of questions about it. So it's important to keep educating people about the goods and the bads of cloud, which is going to roll us right into our next point, the bads of cloud, because there are some hurdles that you'll touch on this more than me, but that the hurdles that existing gamers who have been gaming for years and years on local hardware versus like the new gamer who is either back from gaming or never gamed, it's two largely different audiences. One of those is almost impossible to get to cloud game, and the other one will be much, much easier. So we were talking about that before we went live. Tell me a little bit more about your thought of, where cloud might market better.
It's like, say for me, for example, I'm doing all these cloud tests. I'm your little cloud guinea pig right now.
Cloud guinea pig, yeah. Until you do it too much, and then it doesn't mean the same. But yeah.
But some of the comments on that video were pretty interesting. You seen people talking about how like you can change networks. I'm looking at that like, what? I had no idea, but I guess that helped make it more of a natural experience there of exactly what the guy said, talking about how this is what people are going to experience when they first start out cloud gaming, when they don't know much about it. And,
right.
There was a lot of cool comments, and, some people will even say, like, well, why won't you switch? Clearly you're dabbling in it, you're having a good time, but also on the flip side of that, right before we came on, because I knew we were going to talk about this, I actually just loaded up on my Xbox and looked at my digital games that I have, my digital games library that I have on Xbox. And just without any services, without Xbox Live, without Game Pass Ultimate, without any of that, I have 312 games digitally just linked to my gamer tag. Now, the other thing is, if I have Xbox Live, not even Game Pass, all those games I've claimed throughout the years, I have another like 112 games on top of that. That's without Game Pass. So like that alone is a lot to walk away from.
So big hurdle would be content on, because we talk about all the cloud has different games. And the reason why we say that is because, except for exclusives aside, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC all just about get the same third-party games. It's not always identical, but just for the most part, you can figure the consoles are getting it between those two, and then PC gets that plus more. But when it comes to cloud, not every game, it's still such a new thing. Each company's getting their own grabs. There's a lot of games that are available on all the services, so it seems like some developers are more willing to throw games on cloud than others. It's this whole new experience. Even Xbox is trying to get to where our purchases can be in the cloud, which will be great. I'm sure it'll happen, but no matter how big you are, it's still hard to get all these developers to want to sign on and allow that. So a fracture in content, I think, is a good point. And it is a big one, and it's one that will mean a lot to local hardware gamers that have been in it for years, but it won't mean near as much to the new gamer who doesn't know anything about all of that old content or, all the games coming out everywhere. Like, they're happy with whatever just comes out on Stadia or just comes out on Luna or whatever's just on Xbox Cloud Gaming. To me, there's not near enough on any of them to satisfy what I would need for gaming, if I were to switch off of hardware. But if I were a new gamer, I could definitely see that stuff being enough to fill my time and to do what I needed to do.
And just a little, like, right off of content there is, let's say I don't mind rebuilding my library, but, like, let's say I want to load up some Borderlands on my new cloud service, but I got to start that over again because my save didn't come over, too. So not only content, but your time in as well. So
true. And time in can also include, trophies on PlayStation, achievements on Xbox, things that, again, the local gamer has spent years getting and, could be hesitant jumping into some of these other cloud services. So I think something like xCloud becomes important because it's not looking to replace anything, and it's more supportive to the Xbox gamer. Now, people who don't have Xbox or PC that want to join Game Pass Ultimate and jump into cloud gaming, that's great too. They can jump in and just play the cloud games, but it's more there to support the Xbox gamer and to allow you to play some of your games on the go, with purchases eventually all of them. But with something like Stadia, you're more looking to replace than support, and it gets a little bit more difficult to grow the player base.
And that's one thing. Like even with my love for Xbox, like I will never play Xbox cloud streaming, game streaming there nearly as much as I'll play on my Xbox Series S. So
Sure, right.
like even that won't come even near replacing, like it won't even replace, like it'll be such a small fraction of my game time if it replaced any of it. It's just
Right,
more
right.
so that would be some extra little time that I didn't plan on
Well, that's
possibly.
that's how I like to use cloud, man. Like, not only am I in it for the channel, which does make me play it more than I normally would probably, just those add-on times. Not to replace any of my gaming so much, but like I said, those add-on times where all of a sudden, I'm doing something and I find that I could play, a mission in Marvel, or jump into Gears 5 and finish something real quick, or get that Game Pass quest done really quick while I'm sitting on the couch or making dinner. I've even had my iPad and controller sitting there making dinner and just jumping doing easier to play games, stuff that doesn't require, that full-on competitive attention. And I just think it's so cool as an add-on that way. Now, huge respect to anyone out there who can use cloud only, trust me, and especially if you're picking one, because god dang, there's just a lot of missing games if you just go one no matter what. I always tell Ace over on CGX so much respect, because he has just been all cloud for as long as I've been on the podcast with him, and probably longer, and that's all he does, and he plays all the cloud and it works for him. And I still couldn't do it, but it's awesome for anyone that can pull that off.
Yeah, I mean, no hate for that, but like I said, like there's just so much, like somebody like me who's been invested, like ever since the PlayStation 1 at least. Like I think I might have skipped a generation there with the, like, I didn't have the Dreamcast. I went from
Yeah,
like the Sega
that's right.
Genesis up to an N64 at one point. That was my upgrade.
I
And
forgot you didn't
then
have the Dreamcast.
yeah, and then from that, like the PlayStation 1, played a lot of Driver on that game, and Driver 2.
Right.
Oh man, so many good times. But I've always been with that console based, and once they started getting into digital libraries, uh, even though I was one of the people who was like, "F this digital library thing," now I have a large
Yeah,
digital library and I love it. Um, it was
things change.
just it's just like, I've been building this library almost at this point now from Xbox, the OG Xbox, because they're even bringing backwards compatible games from that, and I did have a few digital purchases, I believe, on that one.
Right.
No, actually I may not have, because I was big into discs still, but 360 I really got into the digital,
Yeah,
especially with the games with gold.
towards the end of the 360 lifespan as well, they really started to get into more digital. My very first two digital movies were bought on the Xbox 360. They just started getting into that, and then with Xbox One, of course, they super embraced digital almost a little too much in the beginning. And yeah, I was hesitant as well, as like everyone else, but we all get so much digital content now, and I think cloud gets into that position where less people will be hesitant to jump in. I don't see it as a replacement for a long time, for a lot of people, but I do see it as a great add-on, a great support system for whatever platform you choose. Or if you're a casual gamer and just one of these cloud services happens to be getting the games that are good enough for you, that's awesome, because you can just enjoy that one service. So there's just something for everybody. And just don't ever get caught up in the hype out there of who's better at this or that, because I'll tell you, with the hundreds of hours I've spent with cloud the past year, everybody's doing a great job right now, and the experience in cloud is getting really good. But for local gamers, leaving behind a lot of things like friends and achievements and game libraries and player base changes and latency and performance and inconsistencies in internet and things like that, we do have to acknowledge that while there's a lot of positives to cloud that we touched on first, there's also a lot of negatives too that everybody's got to work through. So if somebody says something doesn't work for them, don't just jump on them and say it's your fault. There's a good chance that maybe cloud or that service just actually doesn't work for them. That's the nature of cloud. So be open-minded.
And that's one thing I wanted to bring this into a little bit was, one of the things I really think that cloud is going to blow up for is the entry-level gamer. Anybody who's just coming into it, they have no library.
Dude, the new gens,
they don't
man.
have the friends list. They don't want to play with their dad who's on Xbox.
Right. Hey. Oh. Shit. I hurt.
So that's going to be where their marketing needs to be geared toward. They got to see what games the up and coming generation is going to want to play, and they need to get those games on their platforms, and they need to make those games run really good on their platforms.
Yeah.
And I really think at that point you're going to see some things blow up. So
yeah. Anybody that questions it, I do play Stadia. And this is just one of my accounts, but yeah. The reason why I scrolled through all these too, like as we were talking, I kind of started bringing up all the stores, and while you can go down through and see like a lot of popular games, which is great, a lot of bigger releases and some of these, like you'll see just every, like if you really know the amount of games that are coming out, cloud really just gets only a small fraction right now of the game releases. But like you were saying, for people just coming in, that could really be good enough. So it's just interesting. It'll be so interesting to see where the marketing goes over the next couple of years, the technology. I think cloud has a huge future. I don't see a full replacement of local hardware anytime soon, at least another decade. But I see it as a growing market to support local gaming, and for those that it's good enough, that'll be awesome as well. It's just a way for so many more people to be able to get in and play games. But just remember, try them all if you can. If one cloud service doesn't work for you, it doesn't mean they all don't. Give them a shot. Most of them have a way to try for free or have a free tier, and most of them have some kind of free to play games. So just get in and give it a shot and see what works for you.
Oh yeah, that's what it's all about. Is just seeing what works for you.
It is
seeing what you
so
like.
Much hate.
I don't care for playing on phones. I will barely play on a tablet. But I do like using the cloud services to run a PC game I want to run and stream it live at the same time. So that's one of the things I love it for.
Right. Why is that point hard to get across? Because like people will be like, you have a freaking PC. Why are you streaming a game? I have a freaking RTX 2060 at this podcast setup, and I will stream Marvel Avengers from GFN rather than download it and play it here at 1440p at 100 FPS, but like
I got a 1660 nothing.
It's nothing. I'm like, it's for all the reasons we mentioned of saving space and the performance is getting really good. There's just a lot of conveniences to it. So whether you're, when people hear cloud, they're thinking phone all the time and mobile, and not me. When I'm thinking cloud, I'm thinking of all the ways it's helping me around on my PCs. I have 3 more PCs, and I have another setup that is not capable of playing hardly anything anymore. But I jump on that PC all the time and cloud game all the new games. It's really, really cool.
I'm so glad that when I want to get into Avengers again, I don't got to worry about installing it, updating it, whatever the case may be. I just hop right in.
It's super easy. It's super, super easy. So everybody's got its advantages. Still, nothing beats the experience of local hardware. I'll just end it with that. Like with latency, with input lag, which doesn't even exist on a good PC. Just the experience you get gaming on a Series X or a PS5 or a Series S or a decent gaming rig. Nothing beats local hardware yet, but the price for that is inhibitive for some people as well, and not everybody can do these things. And cloud is just, I think it's funneling a lot more people into gaming. So
people
it doesn't
still got to
need to
remember,
beat local
even
hardware.
though cloud might be at this point 3, maybe 4 years old.
If you want to really go, I would say if you count when Stadia came out as the real beginning of cloud.
Not counting Sega Channel back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, GFN's in beta since 2015 and then came out in 2020. But if you talk about services that weren't in beta, like actually cloud starting to get eyes on, I'm going to say, 2018 to 2019 as things were gearing up to launch. So we're 2 to 3 years into real cloud right now, viable cloud services.
To put it into video game time here, cloud is an infant
Barely.
Even Xbox and Sony are at best toddlers at this point, and Nintendo's sitting, as a preteen. The life of gaming is going to be insane. I would say PC is up there with Nintendo as well as far as age.
PC's been around.
Yeah,
Yep. Atari
yeah.
was even before them. If you want to get into some of the granddaddies of
More so of things that are still around.
But
and
as
kicking,
far as relevancy, yes, exactly.
But if you look at the big picture I was thinking about the lifespan of gaming in general. There's going to be generations. There's going to be a newborn baby that was just born today who is not going to see the end of the life of gaming.
Yeah.
In their
someone
lifetime.
who won't
So
even experience gaming for
it's
another
it's an
6, 7
infinite
years.
age at this point. It's going to last as long as humankind lasts, pretty much. So
Man, you got me wanting to be immortal.
Everything's so young
see-
right now.
I want to see gaming 100 years from now, you bastard.
Oh yeah. Anyway,
But you're right. No, cloud is the baby, barely a baby.
Yeah.
Other companies have learned to walk, run, and do well.
and once
and
cloud
it's-
gets to the point where it learns to walk, it's going to get interesting. It's going to get real heated at that point.
Yeah, and the fact that we're like half the planet is gaming at this point, it's just grown.
It's awesome.
It's grown so much. Yeah, it's so cool that something that when I was little was a niche thing. Not everybody played Nintendo or Super Nintendo, or you were some nerd in the basement or whatever the case may be. Like gaming's
Now
now the
there's
largest form of
televised
entertainment ever.
esports
Yes,
and-
it's
it's
the
awesome.
thing to be doing, and it's just so cool to see that happen. So. Man, I don't know. I'm excited for Steam Deck. I'm excited for handheld PCs. I'm excited where cloud's going. I just wish people need to stay really open-minded, honest, and really try to get the right perspective when it comes to cloud. Because number one, cloud's not competing with local hardware. Cloud is there to help support local hardware, and let's just all be nice to each other out there when it comes to our experiences in the cloud. Man, I see some cloud wars starting up as bad as console wars, and I really thought that's what they didn't want to happen. So. We'll
You
see
know
how
what?
that goes.
It's ultimately just. I think back to the guy in your Discord who was playing on Stadia, Rainbow Six, and getting crap from people playing on PC.
Oh yeah,
and it's not
like,
just
dude,
cloud gamers; it's everywhere. And just all you fucking guys, just be nice, man. Be
Just
cool
be
to
nice.
each other. You don't even got to be nice; just be cool.
Just be cool. Just be cool. A little more Bill and Ted and a little less anger. Let's just all be gnarly.
Bust
to
some
each other.
balls, but be
Yeah,
cool.
have
about
fun
it,
and banter, but I do see a lot of hate. And I've told people before, I've had DMs from videos in the past that were very threatening, that showed a certain one cloud service or another not doing as good as one or the other. And I was like, wow, I haven't even gotten that stuff from any hardware stuff I've ever made. As soon as I stepped in the cloud, it was like, woo, there's some people out there that are really passionate about what their cloud platform, I'll tell you what.
And express your passion in the proper way, there's no problem with being passionate, but just don't be an ass.
Don't be an ass. Let's be nice. All right, man. So, we had that little spiel. We do want people to be nice, and I will always do my best to show you guys facts, videos, unbiased opinions as much as I can. I do have my personal preferences that, will come in and out here and there, but I'll always do my best to just show you guys video and truth and what things look like and how things perform and help you decide where you want to play games or where you want to spend your money. So I think we had a pretty good podcast, man. I enjoyed this. It was fun to get together again this week. Like I said, it was kind of winging it. We didn't have a super great plan, but I thought it was fun to talk about Steam Deck and the cloud space and that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, it was a great show. I enjoyed talking about it. It was just a fun time as always. It's always
That's the point,
always
man.
just fun.
We gotta have fun.
Just
All right,
kinda
guys.
chilling.
So, when do you have your next stream? You said tonight at midnight. Are you seriously streaming in 2 hours?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
All
I'm
right,
gonna watch
cool.
Money in the Bank, and then I'm gonna Then I'm gonna hop on and go live. Either some
All
Demon
right.
Souls, some Monster Hunter, maybe some Rogue Company. I don't know yet. It's gonna be something.
Well, your links are always in the description, so anybody can jump in and check it out. I'm going to go back to finishing editing that Dirt 5 video because it's like halfway done. It's insane.
Got
and
some
you guys
Warframe
know,
footage to check out.
some Warframe to check. We got all kinds of stuff going on. So thanks to anyone and everyone that stopped by, and thanks to anyone that watches this down the road. Definitely like, subscribe if you haven't, and leave me your comments down below. All right, guys, thanks a lot for watching. As always, I really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one.